everybody needs a mountain to climb, and it has to be constant and consistent, something that's challenging you, that makes you reflect and look internal and say, do I really want to keep doing this? Is this going to be worth it? Because overcoming that gives you a sense of pride.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward. Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast with myself, Trevor Cowley. Today we have Mike Merrill on the podcast. I've followed Mike on Instagram. I must have came across a post that intrigued me. After I saw all the stuff that he's into, I'm just like, man, I got to have Mike on the podcast. I gotta hear his story. I know you've seen success. Our values are very similar, so I'm excited to get to know you and share some time with you. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, this should be fun.
So tell me a little bit about, you're going from, your youth, getting out of school.
Sure.
Where did the transition happen? The beginning phases of you in entrepreneurship, because usually those are the most brutal years, right?
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of kids, I mean, I grew up, had paper routes, mowed lawns for neighbors. I did babysitting for neighbors and relatives and whatever it was. I always
whatever
hustle up
produced a
some
dollar.
cash. Yep. Sold golf balls. We'd go find golf balls, get them out of the pond. Just
polish them up and sell them back.
Yep. Just always hustling. So did that. I had 13 siblings, so came from a huge family. My dad died of a heart attack when I was 13, so super young. So
did you guys struggle a lot financially with that?
Yeah, it got tough, and so we, it's like you had to buy your own school clothes and buy your own yearbook if you wanted.
So some of that hustle was like just about survival in terms of like, I know I can't go ask mom for money. I need to produce.
Yep. So just knew that was how it was going to be.
Yeah.
Graduated high school. I did decent in high school. I mean, I was pretty smart in my studies, but not very applied. I love sports and chasing girls and all the same things
all the
a lot of us do. But ultimately, after high school, I served an LDS mission, went to Bangkok, Thailand for 2 years and learned Thai and taught Christianity to Buddhist people in Thailand.
Is the distance between you and that mission?
30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you still speak Thai?
I am still completely fluent, can read and write. Oh, wow. Yeah, I still remember it real well.
Cool.
So my wife just went back with me last year for.
Do you try to do like an annual trip or every?
We are now. We already got one coming up in January again, and we got some more family and friends that are going to come with us. So we're pretty stoked. But it was amazing.
Yeah, cool.
So I did that, and when I was there, I mean, it was impressed upon me the importance of an education, and so I was bent on getting back and getting a business degree. And so when I got back, went to work for, my girlfriend waited for me. We dated in high school. She waited for me on my mission. She went to be a nanny in New Jersey for about 1.5 years while I was gone to Thailand.
That was her mission.
And we got back about the same time, and we got married, less than 4 months after I got home. So real quick. And that was awesome. Waited a couple of years to start having kids. And at that time, I went to work for her father, who was a general contractor. And I'd done a little bit of that in high school and in the summer before I went on my mission. And so I was very fascinated. I always wanted to build my own home. I didn't know how. My dad was not mechanically inclined. He didn't know anything about building anything. I didn't either.
Had an interest in it.
There was just something in me that I wanted to. My parents would always talk about building their dream home. And, my dad was visionary, was motivational. He was in insurance sales, and he had a team of, 100+ guys. And he would do all these motivational, I'd go up and do push-ups in front of 100 people to show them, what I could do to be driven. And so, I mean, he fostered that within us to be driven and motivated to overcome and do things that were difficult. So, I just poured myself into that and fell in love with construction and building things and being able to see what I had done at the end of the day and the week and the month, and
watching
my family
progress
back and say, look, I built this, I built this, I built this.
it's never as meaningful to the people that you're showing.
No, they don't.
Like I would drive by and be like, hey, I landscaped that house right there. Like, and then people are like, it looks like grass and bushes just like the one next. They're not vested. They
level of appreciation.
That time. Yeah, exactly. So
no sweat, blood, and tears.
Yeah. It's not every lawn is equal if you actually put the lawn in or built the house, you know?
Yeah. So I ran crews, ran framing crews, concrete, loved finished carpentry and kind of the fine detail work and being real creative. And started my own business at 23 and hired, one of a couple of my friends and a brother-in-law started working with me. And so we kind of started a framing crew together and eventually built that business up and actually, got to where it was booming and had 30, 40 houses going at a time, 5 model homes, 8 real estate agents, but ran into trouble. The materials went up. It was actually when the Iraq war happened. Was
all at the same time when you're working on that many.
Yeah.
And then the materials skyrocketed
went through the roof.
And then now you got 30 or 40 houses. Yeah. That makes sense.
Like losing hundreds of thousands every month just trying to build them. And anyway, ended up having to shut that business down. Loved construction, still wanted to do it, wanted to be around it, wanted to be involved with it, tried to get through it and just couldn't make it out. And so I got a real estate license, started selling real estate and helping developers and other builders and just using what I'd learned. But at that same time, myself and a close friend and 2 of his buddies started a software company for construction. So we built a mobile time and labor tracking app back on Palm Pilots. So before BlackBerry, I mean, way back.
Were you guys the pioneers of that?
We really were. There's nothing else like what
I was going to say. Did something else spur the idea? And then you're like, well, we're going to add to it and make it better. Or if you were just like, dude, this has to exist. If we have this need, that means everybody else has the need.
It was a lot more of that. There really wasn't. I mean, there was one product out there that had a little magnetic thing that you touch this magnet and it started a little internal chip clock. And then you touch that, but it was like, that's not
when you come and go.
That's hardware. It's got to be locked on the site. Like we want something mobile. So we partnered with OtterBox, was a teeny little company in Colorado at the time. We were their largest customer for a long time. And they built cigar caddies for fly fishermen to keep their cigars dry. But they had built one big prototype product for a Palm Pilot to keep it, if somebody was using it on a boat or some other purpose to keep it dry and rugged. And we're like, okay, you're onto something here, but this thing's too big and clunky. We need something small that'll fit in a tool belt or on the side of someone's, seat of their truck. And they developed a more sleek case, and we sold tens of thousands of those things. And
so were you guys so they were the manufacturers on that, and then you guys were like the front end. I'll sell.
They sold them to us for $65 a piece, and we sold them for $100. And every device we sold had one on it. And
so, did you guys have an exclusive with them at that time?
It wasn't that wasn't an exclusive agreement, but
did you guys have a different logo on it at all?
We put our own stickers on it, branded it.
And, so they packaged like white labeled. They built
like that. Essentially.
Okay.
So it was.
No, that's cool.
We were making money on the hardware. We were making money on the software. It took 3 or 4 or 5 years to where we were actually taking a real wage and some lean time.
Takes time for especially the monthly recurring bit, that type of stuff to build. But when it does,
So we built it up. Had thousands of customers all over the country and international and about a little over a year ago, we sold that business. To one of our construction accounting partners out of Ohio. And they.
So now that's why you're,
that changed things. Had changed stuff.
And the mountains and
more time to do the stuff that I love.
Exactly.
And whatnot.
Let me ask you this though. A lot of businesses are like, okay, well, I mean, you obviously grew it, right? And it took time to grow it. What would you say was one of the main things that changed the game for you guys in terms of growth? Because you said, hey, we went nationwide. We went, other countries. Was it a slow snowball effect? And then the people were talking? Or did you guys hit a marketing strategy that was a home run eventually? Like, what was the thing? Or was it just never, it was just time?
There was just a lot of grit the whole time. And I think eventually it reached a critical mass. And really where the game changed, and anyone in software probably relate to this. When we went on-premise perpetual licensing where they're paying 20% maintenance every year to maintain and update, and we changed it to a SaaS model. We completely rebuilt the product. 2008 is when iPhone and Android came out.
Yes.
And that changed the game within
the software
we were in.
Because
then it wasn't just
now
PDAs,
more people could have it.
BlackBerries that were more email centric and not touch screen. And so 2008 was really the big innovation in the technology platform.
Yes.
Then we continued to sell, but it was like, man, we didn't know if we were going to have an amazing month or a terrible month.
Yeah.
Right. It was just whatever the sales guys were putting in the CRM.
Yeah.
And so when you've got to resell every month, to pay the bills, we had to get to a recurring revenue model. And so in 2016, we started rebuilding our product completely from the ground up in a SaaS platform.
Yeah.
And that took probably 2 or 3 years to where that subscription value was now equal to or getting close to what
you were doing
our selling
time sales. Yeah.
And that's when it was like, okay, now I can see the light at the end of this tunnel.
Yes.
And it's getting bigger and brighter. And as we just got to keep going.
So you had to take a step backwards for something greater.
Yeah, we did.
And everybody looked at each other and said, we all understand and agree. The next couple years are about to be brutal.
Yeah.
And even when you agree to that, sometimes when you're going through that, you're like, did we make the right decision?
Right.
So
we never took money, which was the other thing.
Yeah.
Which for us ended up being probably the blessing. I know that, you can do that. And there's a lot of companies that fast track that and they can shave some time off, but then they don't own the cap table or they're giving a lot of the upside. So
yeah, when you say never took money, I thought maybe in terms of payroll. So what you're talking about, you never had investors come on. I always tell people I'm not keen on the idea because you're trying to start a business so that you can be your own boss.
Right.
But once you touch somebody else's dollar, now you have somebody else to answer to.
Yep.
Like they're going to hit you. What's up with this? What's up with this? And you're reporting to somebody like it's a boss.
Right.
And technically it kind of is. You took on their money, which means you took on the responsibility of having to answer to them about their money.
And they might make some decisions differently than you would.
Yeah.
Not having your perspective and knowledge, and sometimes it can change the trajectory of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So
we were blessed not to have to do that. And then, we had a lot of people coming to us for years trying to buy the company or invest or do different things. But until the money was the right level, we just said, no, we don't have to.
We're good.
And, the last few years it was a lot better and we were making great money and doing well and building value and equity. And that SaaS revenue was just going up.
Boom.
And having great case studies. I've literally done, it's probably close to 200 trade shows in this time. I do 10 to 15.
Were you traveling a lot? Like you were just on the road?
Always.
And it felt
always.
It's like, man.
Multiple times a month. Yeah. Everywhere. With all 50 states doing this stuff. Other than, I think Alaska I went to just on my own. And
to try to break into that market.
Everything else was business.
Yeah.
Even Hawaii. And went to Australia. Different events took us.
I'm just trying to get the listeners to wrap their mind around what it really takes, and because it's like, it's just, it is brutal. It is what it is.
What it takes is we are doing this and making the decision once and never going back. And that was the thing. And you got to have your wife on board, your kids on board, your family on board.
It affects everybody.
At some point, even you may be the weak one and you might need your wife to kick you in the pants or, I did have the blessing of having 3 other partners. So usually 1 or 2 of us were up if the other 2 were down.
Yeah.
Somebody was always still grinding no matter what. Right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that can, before this, in my construction business, I didn't have partners. I kind of wish I would have, because that would have, maybe you could, navigate differently.
Yeah.
But when it's just you, it's tough.
When your mind turns on you, then it turns on you.
Yeah, you just don't know. But that just absolutely no quit. This is going to work. And knowing that, and then also executing to that goal, where, you cannot second guess.
Deviate.
You got to have a great idea. You have to have a real product.
Yes.
You have to provide real value. then you gotta tell the world about it and find other people that will help you tell the world about it. And so we've always been really good at. I just came back from an archery shoot, Total Archery Challenge in Big Sky, Montana. Had one of our biggest customers and his wife fly out there from Dallas. He's not a hunter either, but he has a bow and he likes shooting his bow. I told him 2 years ago, you need to come and do this event. And he's like, 6 months ago, they texted me all excited. Hey, we just booked. We're coming. Yeah. So I spent 3 days with them and their kids, and and now he's already texted me. He's trying to get me to go to Michigan, and he's now trying to get me to go to these events that I was telling him, this will change your life.
That's the black hole that I was talking about. Like once you're
guy
in,
that doesn't hunt, but he loves.
He now has a new out. Like it's something new, different. It's a new challenge.
Yep.
Right. It's like, okay, well, I'm not that good, and it bothers me.
Different spice of life, that you haven't had before.
Yeah, a little more patience, a little bit, but sometimes it feels good to be the rookie in something and to have a new hill to climb.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to keep you sharp.
Yeah. It's like, and I think that's maybe what's missing for people. If you're going through a midlife crisis or whatever, maybe start looking around and figuring out what new hobbies or new challenges that you could take on. Right. Because whatever you've done, you've already conquered some of those things. And even if it's more than most things that other people have accomplished, that doesn't mean anything. What's the mountain? Everybody needs a mountain to climb, and it has to be constant and consistent. Something that's challenging you, that makes you reflect and look internal and say, do I really want to keep doing this? Or is this going to be worth it? Because overcoming that gives you a sense of pride. There's always something better on the other side of that. And so it's good to hear, like, you say what you're saying, and be where you are, because it's so easy to second guess yourself and wonder why 6 months or two years. Like, I have a mastermind, and it's like, bro, you're 2 years in. Did you really believe that you were going to start a business and it was going to change your life in 2 years? Or did you start a business because you knew that maybe by the time that you're 40 or 50, or that then your financial situation would look different? Nobody starts a business saying, I'm going to be rich in 6 months or 2 years. But when it's 2 years in, it feels like a lifetime. Getting your face beat against the freaking wall. And you're like, dang, is this ever going to pay? Is this ever? Look, I mean, I always say minimum 3 to 5 years. If you can't eat top of ramen for 3 to 5 years, like, it's probably not for you.
You don't want it bad enough either. You got to be willing to go to that, to that level to get the good. If it's so great, you got to be willing to go down here.
There's always an exchange.
Yeah, it's not
There's an exchange, and you even
otherwise everybody else would be doing it, right?
Exactly. But you made an exchange at one point in 2016 and said, we want better. Even if the results were good with the one-time sell, you're like, it's time for the exchange. We're going back, and we're going to eat shit again, eat crap for 3 years for the reoccurring, right? There's always a step back for something greater.
Yeah, and people have asked me, I've been on a number of podcasts and had different discussions about, I actually host a podcast for the business still, for the new owners. It's called the Mobile Workforce Podcast.
Cool.
We're about 200 episodes in.
Mainly for the trades, or
it's about business entrepreneurship within the construction industry, technology, culture,
just kind of how to build.
Yeah, it's just everything about
in business, but
that's it.
Kind of geared towards the construction /
So I get a lot of people that, they say, if you knew back then it was going to take 21 years to actually sell this and make, I mean, if you didn't know with certainty, like if you're like, this might take 20 plus years. I know if I looked around the table, I won't say I wouldn't have been in the camp that said, let's do it. But if I'd have looked around the table, I probably would have been lonely, because everybody's like, we're going to build this thing. We're going to sell it in 5 years. Or
everybody says that's 5 to 7 years.
So you've got to have something in the tank where you're like, you know what?
But I do think that it's like that delusional side of you is like, 5 to 7 years. It gets you. You can see it
far enough. Yeah,
you can see an end, and then 5 to 7 years down the road, you're like, okay, we're starting to make progress now. Maybe in 5 to 7 years, you keep kind of pushing the goal, and then, time always does.
Now, what I don't know if you've heard this statistic, but I know you run. I love running and trail running. Being, fit and putting work in. But most people that quit in a marathon it's actually around between mile 20 and 22. It's not earlier.
Yeah.
And it's not later, but it's pretty far in
there.
And that's the point where it's like, now it's just a pain endurance thing at that point. Like, and a lot of people just tap when it gets to that point, where they're just like, I just can't do it.
And I can't tell you how many times I was hanging on by a thread.
Right.
And everybody has experienced that.
Yeah.
And it's like, one more day.
Yeah.
One more day. And literally I would go home and I would go to bed and I would sleep and I'd wake up the next day and I'd be like,
yeah,
I'm just glad I didn't quit yesterday.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I've had seasons of it's just like a month or two where it's just like, dang. Like, it's almost like when you're sick or got the cold or the flu and it hits you and you're just like so miserable. You're like, oh, motivation will come. It'll go.
Yeah.
Being unmotivated will come and it'll go. Right. Not wanting to stay in business will come and it'll go. Like, everybody has their outlet to relieve stress. Like, what were some of your outlets back then? And like, obviously they're different probably now than what they were. Or did you just brunt it for 5 to 7 years and you didn't have outlets and it was all in type thing?
Yeah. I mean, I have 4 kids. My family is always my driver. Like, I'm going to, and since then, now you get to look back and say, okay, I did this part of it. Now what this has done is it's afforded me an opportunity to now really do something important. The software's amazing. We've blessed businesses. We've changed lives. We've helped people stack up money they've never seen before.
But it doesn't feel like you've fulfilled your purpose.
But that's not what I was not put on this earth to build the best time and attendance tracking software for construction ever. Yeah. Like, that's not my thing, right? Yeah. So I'm building little humans and teaching them how to be better humans than I've been able to be, and giving them the skills and know how to apply that wisdom that I hope to impart on them, not just get it or not just take notes, and not even just, people say, teach a man to fish. That doesn't mean just going out fishing and saying, watch me, look, I'm fishing, and pay attention, and you got to copy. I mean, you're like baiting the hook with them. You're showing them why, not just what and how, but here's why we do this, and very hands-on. Yeah. And so with my kids, I mean, that's been the biggest thing is it's like, how do I build a legacy where long after I'm gone, the fruits of my labor, not the technology, but who I became as a human, as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a grandfather, and what I left these next generations with, how does that live on and still continue to bless the earth long after I'm gone? And so that's my whole purpose now.
But I mean, did that kind of surface a lot more after you're like, okay, the finances are taken care of. There's got to be something more. And this is more of my why. Like, 'cause sometimes we just get lost in the build, the grind or whatever. Right. And I heard a good quote from a guy, Michael Burnoff, amazing speaker, by the way. He came and spoke at one of our events, but he said, everybody says, leave the world better for your children or something like that. And he goes, why don't we just leave better children for the world?
That's awesome.
Love it. Because like we're focusing on the world right now. And it's like, if we just focus on that generation and leave better children, don't you think that would be a byproduct and the world would just be a better place?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of trying to change people in the way that they are now, that's not going to happen. Our only hope is to go backwards and figure out who's going to be here in 10, 20, 30, 40 years and make sure that they're individuals of, character and integrity, and they have values and they want to take care of somebody if they're hurting or, whatever it may be. And by default, the world's going to be a little bit better of a place.
Well, and the thing is, and you hear people say this all the time. And of course, I mean, it now you remember it more frequently, but people, if I just had $1 million, if I just had this, I would, all the things they would do. Yeah. It's like, you're not doing any of that now. Yeah. Like, your money is a magnifier. It's only going to help you become more of who you really are inside. Yeah. And so if you're not already that way, you're not going to just, now I've got all this cash. I'm just going to, be all of a sudden generous and kind. Now. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way. So I think focusing on raising children in a way that lines up with your integrity, that lines up with who you have always been, the money just gives you more ability to invest additional time and resource and energy that are hard to come by outside of that. I mean, we talked about growing up before we started the podcast, and, you know, a place where our kids can get out and play and get dirty and not be a kid stuck in concrete and technology and behind a screen. It's like, that's where I grew up too, you know, chasing snakes and catching lizards and finding golf balls and just being a kid. And I loved it. I mean, I still remember those days and think of them fondly.
Exactly.
But my kids live in a very different world than I did. And that's a lot less common now. So I think not losing touch with really the things that make me happy or that made me happy as a kid and helping them see that. But then also in this technological world where everything is different, where they are surrounded with things zinging at them constantly. Right? They got to figure out how to disconnect. And archery does that for me. The mountains, nature. I mean, when I go kill an elk or a deer, I bring it on my backpack. I bring it to my home. I actually cut it up in my kitchen. I wrap it. I do everything. And then I put it on the Traeger for Sunday dinner and feed that to my family and watch them consume the sweat of my labor with pride and with just pure joy. And the value of that meat, I mean, you know, hunting can be expensive. You could spend $1,000 a pound to get that elk roast there. Right. People do that, but it's so much more than that. It's like, no, I actually brought that here for you physically. And here it is. And now it's becoming a part of you and nourishing you. And there's just no level of joy I mean, I can't go to Outback Steakhouse and buy, or Ruth's Chris or anywhere. I can't pay enough for a steak
for that experience
to feel the same way as I do when I actually went and got it off the mountain and prepared it for them. So
was that something that you were, you know, brought into later in life? And, you know, like somebody said, hey, come hunting with me.
So my dad was a weekend hunter for Saturday morning only. Like, he was never any good at it. He loved the idea of it. I mean, the romantic side of watching John Wayne movies, you know, got him excited. And I connected with that, but I wanted to live that. I wanted to be that. I wanted to do that. So I had to teach myself and find other people to learn.
You figured you'd look good in camo.
There it is.
And so you're like, dude, I love that.
It's just who I am. I mean, just all the way to my bones. And
so were you born and raised in Utah?
I was,
Okay. So you've lived around
I lived all around this valley. All in Utah Valley. I've lived in Highland, Provo, Payson. I live in Salem now for the last 20 years. And I just love this. Lived always near the mountains. And,
so you've always had it very close by, you know, that solace and that peace.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And did you see major success in one of your businesses prior to saying, okay, I'm going to do this? Because some people get the shiny object syndrome and kind of as the thing that's making them a little bit of money. They're like, let's try this. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And the main thing kind of gets hurt because they're trying to chase that second or third income. And, you know, maybe they're getting bored with what they're doing because they're 5, 7, 8 years in and it's like not new and exciting. The boring stuff hits where you got to create systems and processes and You're sick of dealing with employees or, you know, whatever it is. So you're like, man, this new venture is going to be fun, cool, and sexy. I want to chase that. Did you stay pretty diligent on one thing before you dabbled in others?
Yeah. So
did you fall?
Thankfully, I focused on, I just knew, and there were lots of things that I would have you know, lots of opportunities. I'm well connected network wise. I've lived a lot of places. I have a big family. I just, you know a lot of great people.
Yeah.
And people are always coming. Hey,
check this out.
Come
check this.
Be a part of, you know, let me, you know, partnership. I mean, and I was able to just stiff arm anything that was going to get in the way of the primary goal. And even the things that I dabble in even for fun, the hunting and it's all been in check. Like I've not overly partaken of any of it because I've got to take care of this baby first. You know? And like so
the goose that laid the golden egg.
Yeah. And once that was, and even after that, I mean, I still work for the company that acquired us part-time, and I do podcasts for them. And then I also do all of the trade shows and events that they need me at and interface with customers. And that's a part of it that I really love. And I shine in those moments.
Just communicating with others.
So I love that. Help there part-time. And, you know, part of, you asked earlier, you know, how did I keep it going? What was my release? I mean, the mountains and hunting, whenever I could fit it in, but it wasn't a lot. Taking my wife or my kids where, if we have a trade show in San Diego or in Hawaii or somewhere else, cool, extend that trip, come early, stay late, bring them. And then, so thank goodness we were able to fill some of those needs that way. Also just, take the kids to Disneyland every few years and things like that are memorable.
Some staples.
So we have a lot, we traveled well, all when my kids were growing up because, you start to stack up Sky Miles, you learn the points game at the hotels, and
we just had a points master, let's call him.
Nice.
On one of our inner circle Zoom calls. Yeah. He's like, then you do this, then you do this. You don't redeem them here on this. You actually transfer them here.
Yep.
And it'll get you more points on your flights.
And, sure.
And it was like, somebody sat down and like
figured that out,
thought about all this, and created like literally how business owners could use reward points to fly for free. And, like, it's just this whole hack. I'm like, man, there's a business for just about anything,
right?
So with kids and growing a business, I guess you got to get creative.
You do have to get very creative on
your track,
how you make that work. And we've done a lot of that kind of stuff. So that was cool. Since then, started a book club with our kids. We've read probably 8 or 9 books so far in the last year.
Is it self-improvement type books or what do you?
Only nonfiction, self-improvement, business, stuff like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Think and Grow Rich type stuff too. But we just read Jen Gottlieb's book, Be Seen. Okay. I saw her speak at the event. We were talking with Dan Fleischman and at the arena, Limitless Arena event. The Muscle and some of those guys that were there. Andy Frisella was there, David Goggins. Man, Tim Ferriss, just a really amazing. I took my son to that event also. My son and I started this brand, Primal Performance Supplements.
Okay.
He's a fitness nut, just a genius.
So was that, did you watch him start becoming a fitness nut and you're like, man, I want to do something with you in that realm, or were you already doing something?
I was already there, and he's just naturally that way too. But to the point, like he's brilliant in everything with health and the body and curious. And so I had already, in fact, you asked that before. I set this business up years before just to have it set up and ready because I knew eventually I would like to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to get in the way of us running our software company. So I just put it on the back shelf and just didn't touch it, didn't do anything with it. But as soon as I had the opportunity to slow roll it out, and he was looking at the time, he used to do summer sales for solar. And so it's something we're doing together, and I'm mostly more helping him. He's running all of the day-to-day, and I'm, stuff. I'm helping share wisdom. And
what's the toughest thing in that industry to deal with?
I think the surprising thing to me so far has been, and it's not totally a surprise, but most people are not like relentlessly driven and committed to their routine and their regimen.
So you're trying to find a niche market.
They're not really, utilizing these supplements as regularly as they could. And so they don't go through product very fast. So it's like every few months they're ordering, not every month. And
it's almost like January 1st gym membership skyrocket because everybody has a good intention.
Right.
Then they go out and they buy those supplements because they're going to do it. But the difference is the gym membership signed them on a 5-year contract.
Exactly right. Yep.
The supplements could sit there on the shelf for the next 6 months or a year or whatever, depending on whenever they're motivated again.
And he and I we are like auto ship type guys where we will use and consume because that's what we're doing. That's the program we're on.
It's like every 30 days send it.
Yeah. But so that's something that's been interesting. The other thing that we've focused on is absolute unquestionable quality and the right stuff, no matter what, at any cost.
Yeah.
Which again, we'll see over time how that proves out, but no shortcuts, put all the right stuff in. And there are a lot of people that they care more about the flavor than the benefit. Honestly, if it doesn't taste great, they're not doing it no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm also not that way. Neither is my son. I don't care what it tastes like. If it's giving me what I need, that's what I'm after, not the taste, but balancing that with the broader market and saying
humans and
you gotta know what
you're dealing with.
So that's another thing that we're navigating and working through. But
what's the best selling product?
So we have a new one that we just released that is just going to crush, and we call it Apex, and it's got nootropics, and it's got some
brain
cognitive stuff.
Yeah.
Aside from pre-workout and stimulation, and it's
so is it sort of a pre-workout as well?
It is, but it's got more. It's just
it's more than just, you don't want to just label it.
The chemist at our manufacturer said this sucker is juicy. We've never built anything like this, and it was my son's invention. Yeah, like it was his.
So you're like, cool. Here's what it's going to do to your body, but here's what it's going to do to your mind.
A little less of this, a little more of that, and it needs to be all together. And they're like, well, this is actually like like you could. We're like, no,
make more money just by dividing it. Yeah,
one, bigger scoop, and because this is. If you could build whatever you wanted to get the benefit, that's what you would build. Yeah, so that's what we built, and so I'm calling it Apex. The first flavor is a blueberry, and it tastes amazing. And but our other stuff, I mean, our whey isolate protein mixes incredibly. I didn't even know a lot of other products were so chalky and not palatable because they were all that way. Yeah. And after we came up with this and I've used it, it's like I can't go back to the other stuff because it doesn't taste right. It doesn't feel right.
I was talking to a kid at the gym. I was like, man, you look tired. He's like, man, I was gaming till like 3 a.m. with my buddies from high school. We just don't get together often. And it was like, hey, everyone's working. They're all starting to have kids. And so it's like we got on at 11 o'clock and we gamed for 4 hours. I'm like, I just can't even comprehend or wrap my head around it because it's like, that's a whole new world, right? And it's the same with hunting or same with a million other different industries. It's like, you just don't know till you try it.
I think that addictive personality, that thing that makes you commit and be able to go all in and lock your pit bull teeth into something is, it's a blessing and could be a curse. Like if you lock your teeth into the wrong thing, it's like, I could play till 4 a.m. and I used to do that and get up at 6 and go pour concrete. Yeah. And I could do that for 3 or 4 nights in a row. Yeah. But then it's like, oh man, the weekend and you're crashed and you're miserable and you feel like garbage. And now you're not running. Now you're not getting your workouts in. Now I'm too tired. I don't care about hunting right now. I just feel like garbage. So, so just at a point I realized, you know what? I just can't even, I'd rather totally abstain.
You have to minus in order to have a positive, right?
That's right.
Like, what is
coming
it?
From somewhere?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, there's, like we talked about earlier,
3 hours in the day.
There's an exchange. Like, what is it in your life right now that's just not serving you, that you're utilizing as an outlet?
Word, serving. Is it serving me or not? If it's not, it's out. And again, that's how I try.
And again, some people need outlets, and it's all fine and dandy. But the question is, find an outlet that also serves you and makes you greater.
Right.
Me running is my outlet. Me lifting is my outlet. Do I believe that I'm becoming healthier in my body and mind that will ultimately produce a better result when I show up in a business, or I show up for my family, or I show up in whatever environment that I'm in? Are my outlets healthy and are they positive? Mm-hmm. Could you stay up till 4 a.m? Yeah, but you get 2 hours of sleep. Then you can throw your body at work and just grind it out. Sure, cool. That's not conducive to your health. Yeah, it's just not. It's not a positive outlet. Mm-hmm. But there's probably more negative outlets that are available to people than there are positive. I don't know whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's video. There's a lot of easy dopamine food. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you want an amazing life, you have to be very intentional. Yeah. And then you have to be able to call yourself out in those moments. And it's like, cool. Like if you're year 1, 2, and 3, like you might be able to get away with that. But eventually you're going to be the bottleneck to what you're trying to accomplish. You're going to say, shit, man, I just need to get better. Where can I get better? Should I start reading? I don't read. Cool. That's better. Should I stop drinking? Yeah, you should. Should I stop? Yes, stop smoking if you smoke. Like your shirt says, earn it. Part of earning it is getting rid of some of your vices, some of the things that, that give you a temporary relief from the struggle, but again, doesn't necessarily equate to a positive outcome.
Value stacking, and when we use the word double dip, and I mean, I used to, when I used to
double dip tobacco, and then I got rid of that.
Sure. So. But when I first got into this, I really got into archery probably 10 or 12 years ago pretty heavily. And I was like, okay, now I'm really And that just
was it
fascinated
instant? You just started pulling back.
Oh yeah, as soon as I'd already been doing it, but as soon as I like decided I actually love this.
Yeah.
Like I love hunting. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love all that stuff. But archery it just got a hold of my soul somehow more than other things.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I do that? Well, and again, it's like I get no benefit from taking this customer to this event now. I don't have ownership. I don't get a paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it because I love it and I love them and I want to share that. So it's like, now it's blessing my life in a different way.
Yeah.
It's not more money, but there was a point where we had this mantra, Cam Haines talked about lift, run, shoot. These are his shoes here.
Yeah.
Lift, run, shoot. And so I would literally go trail running with my bow and my target and my truck. And I had trail cameras placed for hunting along my trail path. So as I'm running, I would stop and grab the SD card, swap them out and hurry and stuff it in my pocket, finish my run, come down. I'm panting and sweating and hot and tired. And I'd hurry and pull my bow out and shoot when I'm tired so that I'm getting
you're getting used to it.
Like I would be if I was hunting and I'm hiking and here's the animal.
Yeah.
So that was my run and my shoot, right? Then I go home and I'd lift weights, hit the hot tub, finish up my routine. And in 2 hours, I was getting it all in.
Yeah.
And like quadruple dipping. I'm getting ready for hunting season. I'm getting my nature fix. I'm getting some vitamin D from the sun. I'm moving my body. I'm getting in shape. I'm practicing my bow. Like it was like
when you were doing that,
fulfillment.
Did you get let me ask you, how often did you kick it or just hang out? Like when you were in these building phases, or did you kind of have to remove yourself from society to a certain extent for a period of time and say, look, I don't kick it. I don't hang out. This is what I'm doing now. And kind of that type
I tried
of
it's the 80-20 thing. I tried to be balanced. I mean, I don't know how great a job I did. I mean, I did as a father, I coached my son all through sports.
Yes. Okay.
I went to a lot of my daughter's dances. Like I scheduled everything around everything that I could for family stuff. Always.
Yes.
Sometimes I couldn't get out of this trade show. I was going to miss something,
I mean,
and it happened.
Part of it. Yeah.
But when I told you earlier, my dad died when I was 13. My dad, my dad never once in my entire life came to a baseball game of mine, ever.
Yeah.
He was always working when he was alive, and then he died, and he never came to my game.
Yeah.
So I went to all of my son's games, every chance I got.
Yeah.
I never miss any.
Yeah.
I was going to be there, right? So despite building a business, despite burning the candle at all three ends, not just both, there was an explosion, a forest, a dumpster fire all around the candle. Everything was getting burned, but I made sure to prioritize those things. Still active in going to church, still doing, reading scripture with our family and having time together and focusing on that whenever we could. So I tried to at least keep those things in balance that were really the anchors to life, the purpose of life, more than just the money and the business.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it was a lot of 14, 16, 18, 20-hour days doing whatever. And I was fine. I made it. I'm doing great. I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm 50 and I feel like I'm 20 still.
Like looking back on it all, let me ask you this. When people say, man, those were the good old days. At what part in your journey do you look back and reflect and say, man, that was a great time in business?
I mean, I think maybe where the first phases where things really started to finally pay off, where it's finally, the
first couple
is when you're actually getting a check.
What year was
that? Probably.
Was that after the iPhone stuff, or was that before? Yeah,
it took a few years of that. It was probably, my partners and I started doing profit sharing. We would take, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. We were okay, we have enough cash in the business. We're not spending it all. Yeah. We're going to disperse it at the end
reserves are there.
And we, the whole time, which that was another blessing. I mean, even if we didn't, we get dividends, and we would try to draw out of the business whenever we could to cover the tax burden.
Yeah, that's
so
what
nobody
we did
was
too.
harnessed with it.
That's what we did too.
But it worked. I mean, everybody had different backgrounds, different side projects, different hobbies. I mean, we all just kind of did our own thing, but everybody stayed focused enough on the day-to-day that we had each other's backs, but we also trusted each other. And I mean, it was we're still all friends. Yeah. 3 of us live back to back in homes. One's building a new home just above where we're at now. And,
that's cool.
We still love each other and each other's families. And so that's rare, 21 years, and we didn't kill each other, and we still like each other. So that was good.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is because sometimes people are like, man, there's a lot of nostalgia, even in the times that we just really had to hunker down and struggle. During the struggle, you don't really understand how much beauty's in it. But then when you get older and you look back, you're like, man, those were some good times. Right. Struggling in that little teeny office, or trying to find that first customer or that 100th customer or whatever. And it's like, we just want the results so fast that we're missing so much. And then when you even get the result, you're going to look back and be like, man, these were the good old days. Like, just during the build phase when we wanted everything outside of what we had, which is a result. Right.
I look back, and it's crazy, but I still feel this way. When we started paying our sales guys bigger checks than we were getting, which it didn't take real long, because if they were any good at sales, they were going to make more money than anyone, and we weren't taking much. So I loved signing them win and watching them cash a big check. It was just like, freak yeah, man. Even if I had to go on a week road trip with them, help them close the deal, help the partner or this customer fall in love with us as a company,
product,
and just do everything I can as a business owner and then cut this guy a check. And I left my family too, but I don't get anything extra. Yeah. I'm just taking my thing. Yeah. Because
you're playing
it was like, game. I'm just building a business, and this is part of what we get. And one day I'll get that and more, and it's okay. Like, he's got to win first in order for us to win later.
Well, if everybody in your organization is winning, what's going to happen by default?
That's it. You're going to win.
Like that, you winning is a byproduct of everybody else winning, right? And you obviously did that. And
we did in the end. I mean, we gave some options and some people made some money. Yeah. We made some millionaires out of it that were founders. There are people that got some money. And
those SaaS companies
set up their lives.
Are really nice in terms of the sell, aren't they?
Yeah, it was good.
Was that a long process to sell? Like, sometimes they say the due diligence and then this crazy. And then that. Some people complain like it was a 2-year. It was the worst 2 years of my life. In terms of an exit.
The buyer, the money. I believe the number is 453 software companies they have bought before ours.
Wow. They already knew.
We were the fastest one they ever bought.
Yeah.
From the beginning to end.
Well, how long was it?
89 days.
Oh, wow.
And
is that because
that's a testament, because my partner that's our CEO had the books just clean and awesome.
There was no question.
And he was on it. Yeah. And we'd also built a business where the rest of us, and he'd actually had a knee surgery right around that time. So he was literally like holed up. So it was kind of like he could just sit there and focus on that and nothing else. Yeah. And again, some businesses, if the CEO is so involved in the day-to-day other stuff, like the early days when you're actually closing deals.
This is a mess back here because you're so focused here.
We had things in a place where the business could run while he did that. And so it was a big testament mostly to him, number one. Number two, we also were absolutely committed to the number we needed. And there's no negotiation,
no budging
or movement.
Off of that,
And we were very clear, and this is what it's going to be, or else we'll just keep going. It's just going to be worth more. It's fine. Yeah. We got other people that are interested.
And did they balk at it? Did they negotiate, or did they say, "Yeah, let's do it"?
In the end, no. They came a few times before. Other suitors. We had a lot of companies coming around, but we just told them no until they came with the right number. Yeah. And we said, okay, if you do this, if we close quick, if all these things happen as you say they will, we will close on this business and this is going to get done. And that's exactly what happened. So it was actually crazy.
Would you tell a young business owner, like if they ask, is the price that you had to pay for where you're at right now, is it worth it?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, yeah. And it's not even just that we got so much cash. It's more like
who you became.
You hear about, you know, I'm a time chaser. I'm a money chaser. Whatever you're chasing.
Yes.
I just want dominion over my time. I just want to be able to own that. As long as, I mean, God's in control of how long I get to breathe here on earth.
Yeah.
But I'm in control of what I do with that breath that he's given me. That's the only thing I can give him or anyone is my time. So if I have dominion and control over that financially because of the things that I've done to help set that up, what's the limit? There's no limit.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want and whatever I need to do and what's important to me. So then I go back to my family and my kids and I say, how do I build these humans that are twice or 10 times better than I ever was? How do I give them all the stuff I never got? How do I teach them, not hand them a shortcut, but give them the path and the recipe and then walk with them hand in hand through that journey to say, now, I'm not going to take it all from them. I mean, they have to, they got to ride the struggle bus too.
Yeah.
But we, you know, my wife and I, we gave them access to some money, all of them. And the younger ones, it's there for them in the future when they're old enough. The ones that were married, had kids, or at an age where it will change their life. We read some books. We prepared for this a little bit. So we kind of had our mindset. There's one called Die with Zero. Fascinating book. You need to read it. Life changer.
Wow.
Die with Zero.
Never heard of it.
And for me, it's not, I mean, the point is don't leave everything here when you go, because then what? Like, you're not here to enjoy the benefit and the value of anything that you it's all there. Yeah. And now you're gone and you don't get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So if I help my kids when I'm 80 and they're 55 or 50, well, they're already probably established, and the money is just going to go to their kids who are once more removed from the grit and the struggle and the sweat and the long nights that they saw dad getting home from the airport at 2 a.m. And then we're going to church in the morning. Yeah. You know, like that, they saw that. They were part of it. They sacrificed when I was building this. Yeah. My wife sacrificed greatly. She was a part of that journey. The joy we get is when we share what we've built with them and our grandchildren. And so part of it is, how can you bless them with some of that now and help them with, again, hand in hand, guide them. And I told my kids, anyone Lambos out here, man, there's no more for you. Yeah. You know, you older ones, you're going to get some money. Yeah. This is yours.
Yeah. Establish yourself.
And
make
they've done amazing. Now we set up fidelity accounts with every one of these kids. They all have them. My 18-year-old knows more about stocks than I knew when I was 30. That's because we have a family meeting, family dinner. I'm cooking elk and steak and barbecue, and we're reading books, and we're talking about this stuff every month on Sunday. Yeah. And so that is what I'm talking about. That's the blessing. It's not I can buy a boat or whatever. It doesn't. Okay. Yeah,
10 Lamborghinis.
At a point, it's just stuff.
Yeah. A car ends up being a car.
It's just a means to an end. And push the gas and it moves. And there's a lot of vehicles you can do that'll do that. But that doesn't do anything for me or my kids or the planet. So building better humans, helping them to build better humans with my grandbabies, that's what I'm all about. So I think that's what Primal's about. It's about, son, I'm going to help you in a way that I never got. But it's going to be hard. Yeah. You got it. This is yours. And, you know, one day if we can build it to something where you can sell it and exit that. And I'm an investor in this. I'm going to be part of that too. Or you can buy me out at some point. I don't need any money from it. Yeah. But I do want to build something that matters. I want people to be healthy. I want people to understand their fitness, have a better quality of life. I want them to maximize their
time here,
their health and their experience. Yeah. I wanted to be faster, stronger, better than they were yesterday because of the work they put in. If we can help them do that with a clean, pure product that's of value, then great.
Well, some people say, well, people are living longer. And then there's the other side of it that say people are dying slower. You know, people are keeping people alive because they're pulling more money out. Like, hey, take this medication, this medication.
Sustaining life longer, but quality of life is...
That's the question, right? So, people might, 100 years ago, only lived to 65, and now they're 78. but what's the quality of life between those numbers, right? Like, are we just sustaining life to, pull from them as a resource, financially in terms of the system? So, and that's why it's important to, that's great that you live 78 years, but what was the quality that you experienced during that in terms of, are you taking care of your body, your supplements, things like that? Are you optimizing you as an individual, not just a business, right? Like everybody wants to optimize business. They want to have business meetings, utilize data to make changes. Like you have plenty of data on yourself in terms of how you feel, how you look, how you operate, like make the tweaks and changes. A buddy, Kevin, said, I referenced it early in the podcast, take care of the goose that lays the golden egg. Yeah. You are the goose that lays the golden egg, right? Like you have to take care of you because there's people in your ecosystem that's dependent on you. And so I think it's really cool what you're doing, and that you're able to be on the other side of business in terms of not, hey, software, cool, make your business better, but like in a passion project with your son and your family, something that's is fueling you in a different way than just the financial ones and twos of software, right? And so that's super. How do people connect with you if they want to connect with you? How do they find your product if they want to find your product? Things like that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Couple things. We're just primalperformancesups.com. It's on Instagram, Primal Performance.
We'll put it in the bios as well as the podcast. Cool. So I appreciate you, man. Yeah, it was super cool to hear your story, and your resilience is definitely inspiring, and that your willingness to keep taking steps back and building something really, really special that not only impacts you, but your family and many, many other lives. And so it was an honor to spend some time with you today, and I really, really appreciate it. So
you too. Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah. If you know anybody that could receive value out of this podcast, make sure you share the show. Other than that, keep kicking ass, and we'll see you guys next week.